Hello, ham radio friends. I was really excited when I found out that Rig Expert has a new little device. This is the AA0. Okay, this goes from 0 to 1 gigahertz. And it's $100. It's actually on sale now at DX Engineering for $89. I just bought mine for $100. So it talks on 3 interfaces. Well, actually, it doesn't talk on any, but it's supposed to talk on 3 interfaces, okay? It talks on TTL UART, I2C, and SPI. And let's back up a little bit. So several years ago, I had the AA30.0. It was a $99 board. Bigger than that, it was an Arduino Shield. And you'll see my call sign and name credited on their website for modifying some of the Arduino sketch code. So that did SWR from 0 to 30 megahertz. So when this came out, I sold that on eHam, but when this came out, I was really excited because this goes from 0 to a gigahertz for the same price. And I figured, well, the AA30 was just a nice little device and worked well. Well, this is a piece of junk, okay? I spent days on this, and I can't get it to do anything. So the first interface I used was tried a small little FTDI USB virtual COM port, and I connected that up, and I used a real term, and I said hex bytes. So the AA30 talks ASCII. You give it a frequency, you give it all ASCII strings, and it gives you back SWR, reactance, things like that. This talks some kind of weird binary protocol that is poorly documented. Okay, so first of all, I was going to buy the USB 500, right? That's like a $350 some stick. It's an appliance, and Rig Experts makes pretty good stuff, and I used some of their stuff at work before. So instead of buying that, I figured I can save a lot of money by adding my own ESP32 and LCD. I did many projects with the ESP32 that have been running for years with Wi-Fi and web pages and home control automation type stuff for a friend. So I'm no stranger to, getting this stuff to work. Made a lot of Arduino projects, ESP32 projects, TeenZ, CPU, all sorts of things, FFTs, audio analyzers, light detectors, you name it. Also worked with the A30, but this thing is either a block of wood or it just doesn't work as advertised. So here's what I did. I breadboarded this up on a breakout board with a LCD display, and I never got any received data back. You send 3 bytes. They're all binary protocols, very poorly documented, very hard to find on the internet. This is some of the documentation. So to get the status, you send a 5A 817E. 81 and 7E are 1-bit complements of each other, right? Inversions. To get the firmware version, okay, you send a E5 Baker 5 4 alpha. The Baker 5 and 4 alpha are, again, bit inversions of each other. I can understand the bit inversions if you had a parallel 8-bit bus and you want to make sure all the lines are connected and there's no stuck zeros or stuck ones or open lines, shorted lines. But this is a serial protocol. Okay, the UART runs at 38,400 baud. Nowhere does it say that in this documentation. You got to find that out by looking at the Arduino sketch code. The Arduino sketch code has more functions then this documentation. This is called the Short Communication Interface Description. They should call it the Incomplete Interface Description, because I don't know who wrote the AA30, but he did a really good job. He's probably not there anymore because it's not rigexperts.com, it's rigexpert.com. Maybe he was the only expert and he left the company, and now we're left with clowns that are writing bad protocols like these. When you release the thing and reset, it should say something out of the serial bus to let you know the line is working or something's working. So you send it some commands, and even if you're at the wrong baud rate, it just sits there like a block of wood, doesn't answer. So either I got a bad one, which I find that hard to believe, or we're at the wrong baud rate. So I wrote code and I scanned all the baud rates, right? Went from 9600, 19.2, 38.4, 115, and nothing. And I also took my lines and shorted them together to make sure that I could receive what I'm sending. And sure enough, my UART does receive. That little FTDI board, this has an LED. When it transmits, it flickers. When it receives, it flickers. I never seen the receive light flicker at all. Okay, so the protocol's not the best. In fact, I think it's pretty poor. It's kind of overly complicated, and they don't say why. There's a CRC32 table in the Arduino sketch code. So then I figured, okay, maybe the problem is the 3.3 volts versus the 5 volts. So I connected up an Uno, which is 5 volt TTL logic, into the AA0, right, the 1 gigahertz, nothing. I checked on a scope, I looked at the bytes, I decoded the bytes into serial mode. I can see the E5 as the first byte and all this kind of stuff, and it never finds the analyzer. It never receives anything back. I modified the code. I used the hardware interface on the ESP32. I used the software interface on the Uno. Same thing, nothing. And I used the FTDI breakout board, virtual COM port, and I used real term, and I sent hex bytes, nothing. Okay, so first of all, the information is very hard to find on the internet. I had a look in the old website, old.expert.com, rigexpert.com, old.rigexpert.com, and find links to the new pages. They redesigned their website, but they left a lot of stuff as orphan pages. And second of all, when I bought this, DX Engineering shipped very fast, sent me a lot of stickers, a catalog, really cool stuff. But the AA0 came in a little bag. No instructions, no paperwork, nothing. A circuit board in a bag. That's it. That's pretty bad. Before I bought this, I emailed them on 16 days ago with 2 different email addresses in case it went to spam. They never replied. Okay, nothing. And so I was going to buy the Rig Expert the AA500 stick. I was going to go buy the AA500 stick, over 350 bucks. And I figured, well, being as good as the AA30 was, I'll buy the AA0. It should be the same. Well, it's not. Don't waste your money on this thing. I think it's a dog. It's just, it's crap. They really screwed up. So I eventually, of course, I soldered to it, as you can see, and even the pins are not on the 0.1 centers across the board, so it makes it really hard to put into a breadboard with spacing, or any kind of vector board. Highly disappointed. Wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I think these people have lost it. I looked at the manuals from the AA1000, the AA230s, and wanted to make some screen designs. Here's a picture of what I had. I mocked up some stuff in HTML code. I also got some pictures of what the I also have pictures of the LCD, the ESP32, drawing some mock-up waveforms and what my user interface was going to look like. So I spent a lot of time into this, and it's very disappointing. Now maybe the UART interface is bad and I'll try the I2C, but they don't have a library for it. They got a UART library, and obviously that doesn't work. And they got a I2C interface and a SPI interface. So that's going to be my next steps of wasting time with the rig expert, the one expert that's probably not there. Very disappointed, and would not recommend this board to anyone. And I feel I'm a very seasoned programmer, built a lot of stuff. It shouldn't be taking 10 times longer than it needs to be. So save yourself a lot of hassle, and stay tuned in case I do get this working and get some updates or try to get my money back from this lousy product.